Touchdown BC is sponsored by
Welcome to episode 2 of Touchdown BC. I'm Ty Clark. This is my good friend Adam Kordick. Ty, it was a wet and wild weekend for amateur football across our great province. Ty, let's start off with high school. It's hard to believe that the regular season for high school football starts up next week. Even though this was the last week of exhibition play, there were some incredibly big games this past weekend, including cross-conference and divisional matchups. Let's get into the action.
Terry Fox, New West. What a big matchup this one would be. Terry Fox deep into the Hayek zone to start off this one, and quarterback Jake LeBurge fakes the handoff and is too slippery to be taken down. Terry Fox up a touchdown. Later on, Jamie Sheeho in shotgun formation, and he tosses up a miracle just out of the reach of Malik Womack, connecting with Michael Finn. This one all tied up. But Terry Fox will be right back on their next possession, with LeBurge finding a wide-open Brandon Shanley, who would walk it in for another 6 points. Not long after that, Anley Hanlon would grab 55 yards after the catch, deep into Hayek territory, but they would not be able to convert after this one. Hayeks retake the ball, and they should have planned out this one a little bit better to watch number 10. Danson David Penalver, the little man, bursts through the hole and outruns everyone on the field, taking it the distance. Hayeks right back in this one. And a little bit of trickery in the next possession from the black and red. Jeremy Kokolongo takes the toss out wide, but what's this? Who said he couldn't go long though? Hanley hauls in his second of the night. Terry Fox back up. Hayeks trying to crawl back into this one. Within a score, Sheeho looks for Penalver, but Womack would make him pay this time, taking the interception 42 yards deep into Hayek's territory. Next quarter, Terry Fox still in the red zone, and somebody should have looked up number 33 in the playbook. It's big man Xander Bailey taking the ball to the left side, making a couple nice cuts, and he'd take this one to the house. Terry Fox back up by a couple touchdowns. Next possession, New West. Sheeho under center, looks like a seasoned vet with a nice little fake handoff, and nobody was going to be able to catch this one. 15 in white and purple. Nobody's touching him. He goes in for the score of his own. Terry Fox was forced to punt on their next drive, and New West starting to make a little bit of a comeback here. Marcel Wang running this one in, bouncing around like a pinball. 6 points more for New West. But in goes Terry Fox's Brandon Shanley, his second of the night, putting this game out of reach. West Van, Carson Graham. This one, a rain-soaked battle. First quarter, Tyler Nylander throws it into traffic, picked off West Van. Next quarter, the ball slips right out of Charlie Welsh's hands. Recovery, Carson Graham. Later in the second, sky's starting to clear up a little bit. Pass comes to the left side, and boom! Did anybody else catch the license plate of that truck? The rainy conditions would return, and with that, West Van's trouble holding on to the ball. Welsh fumbles again, Carson returns. Carson on the 8-yard line. Ethan Whiting runs a quick out, gets a beautiful pass from Nylander, breaks a tackle, and waltzes into the end zone. Whiting front. Late fourth we go. West Van in dire need of a touchdown, but Carson would say, "Nuh-uh." Wyatt Gilson absolutely popping Charlie Welsh, and he have a hard time holding on to it again. Carson recovers. And that would be it for this one. Carson Graham winning the defensive battle 8-0. Next game now. We had another rainy one on the North Shore with Handsworth hosting Robert Bateman. Opening quarter, Bateman forced a punt, and Leon Kuyoya scampers down the right sidelines, gain of 31. But on the very next play, Bateman blitzes and crushes Handsworth QB Sam Thole. Nice hit there. But there would be no toll and Thole after this, as it rolls out a couple plays later and connects with Jacob Gazazada, and gosh, that's a nice catch. Handsworth in front. Later on, Thole takes a snap and hands it off to Leon. And Kyoya, this kid can run down to the 1. Very next play, Thole grabs the ball, hands it off to Kyoya, and this guy finished what he started, pounding the rock to the outside and sliding in for a pretty little touchdown. But Hansworth would not be done there. Running a 4 wide out set, Thole finds his boy Dane Hopkins, looking like DeAndre Hopkins with those soft hands. Great grab there. Hansworth would add a late field goal as they walk through Bateman, 17-0. Now let's take a quick look at some of the other scores in Week 2 of exhibition play for BC high school football. This week's High School Player of the Week is Jacob Samuels, quarterback for Vancouver College Fighting Irish. Samuels put up 286 yards and 3 touchdowns in the 20-0 win over St. Thomas More, and also broke the Vancouver College single-game passing record.
Now joining us in studio is Vancouver College quarterback Jacob Samuels. Jacob, how are you doing today?
Very good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So now, as a former VC grad myself, big game against STM, obviously. Can you run me down how the game went and what it meant to be playing in such a big game?
Well, it went great. We started off pretty strong. We were able to move the ball. We couldn't finish our drives in the beginning of the game, but we made some big plays and we were able to get the lead. Defense played a great game, got the shutout, and the offense, again, big plays were the big part in the game. And it felt really good to be a team, especially like STM. They're a big rival of ours. And we're just going to keep building on that and hopefully get better each week and take it to the next level.
Now, Vancouver College has always been a run-first kind of team, and I don't know if people realize you actually finished the day with 286 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. What does it feel like to have broken the single-game record for most passing yards?
Well, it's definitely a great honor. There's been some great quarterbacks at Vancouver College. It definitely wouldn't be possible without my teammates. O-line played a great game. Rise and John, the receiver, had a couple big catches that if he didn't make, I don't think I'd break the record. So a big shout out to them. But yeah, it feels great. I think I played a pretty solid game, and I'm just going to keep building on it.
Now, we've been hearing a lot about the Irish defense. You guys obviously shut down STM, giving them a goose egg. But how has the offense been clicking since you're obviously the quarterback back there?
Well, the offense has been doing pretty well. You know, we've been building off of the defense. We've gotten better each week. The running game's always going to be there. The O-line's really improving, and we're starting to get the passing game going, which is going to be crucial for us as we move forward.
Now, Jacob, we have the Fighting Irish ranked 4th this week in our top 5. How do you guys see yourselves going forward? What are some of your biggest tests besides Terry Fox and Mount Doug?
Well, yeah, we have a pretty tough schedule this year. We got South Delta coming up, Mount Doug near the end of the year, and we feel like we can compete with them. You know, a lot of people are kind of underestimating us this year, and we're confident in our abilities, and we think we can make a big run this year.
Thanks for your time, Jacob. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at Touchdown BC's AAA varsity top 5 teams. In first is still the South Delta Rams despite a loss in Alberta. Mount Doug stays at number 2. Terry Fox at number 3 despite an impressive win over New West. Vancouver College moves up 1 spot with an impressive win over STM 20-0. And moving into the 5 spot is Notre Dame.
Welcome to your BC High School Report. Joining us this week in studio again is Dino Jamia. Dino, how you doing?
Great.
So let's jump into it. First of all, last weekend we were talking a lot about Chase Claypool and what he meant to the Abbotsford team. This week they went into WJ Mowat and they got a huge win. So the AA team beats the AAA team. What are your thoughts on what this means for Abbotsford and WJ Mowat?
Well, a real battle of Abbotsford. I think WJ Mowat is a team that is going through a little bit of transition. Dennis Kelly, of course, being there for many years. Travis Bell taking over, doing a great job. So that's a transition, and Abbotsford full value for the victory. Chase Claypool, they managed to hold him in under control in the first half, and then, with a player like that, it's just a matter of time, and then he kind of blew it up in the second half, and obviously got the win for Abbotsford.
Another big game this weekend too was Terry Fox taking on New West. And I looked at some of the game tape, and it was actually a 39-25 game, but it looked a lot closer than that. Of course, Terry Fox is our number 3 ranked team in the province. Do you think that New West will crack the top 5 anytime this season?
New West is an interesting team. They're one of those teams that kind of keep pushing that top 5, even last year. Really impressed with their quarterback, Jamia. He does a great job leading that team. Obviously got a great grasp of their offense, which is a little different, running a lot of the wing T with their offense. But again, Terry Fox, full value of the victory, tough team, got several players that can hurt you. With either running back, the quarterback extends plays, Jacob LeBerge, and their line is strong. So they're a solid team. The team that impressed me this weekend was actually Vancouver College. I thought their defense, with their defense playing as well as it is right now, I see them being really tough to beat.
This was obviously a big weekend, even though it was exhibition, and next week will be the first week of the regular season, especially for the Eastern Conference teams. What can we predict from the Eastern Conference?
I think we see a lot of competitive games. I think we see a lot of the favored teams come out and play strong. Kelowna is one of those teams that really is of interest to me. They've had some really good outings. They got a great player in Parker Simpson, so where they fit in is going to be interesting. Be interesting to see how WJ Mowat bounces back this week and as they enter conference play. So those are a couple of the key points that I'd look for in the first week of regular season.
That's your high school report with Dino Jamia.
Week 3 is in the books for BC Community Football, and what a week it was. Many of the games were hard-fought and tightly contested. It's great to see such a high level of play so early on in the season. Keep it up, boys. Now let me get you updated on the week that was BC Community Football. Let's start with Midget Chilliwack taking on White Rock. The Titans with the highlight play early on. Matthew Green explodes off the line, blocks the field goal, and runs with it 40 yards before getting taken down. The Giants would score first though. Jordan Fox punches it in on the QB sneak for a TD. Chilliwack up 7. Early third, the Giants would look to pull away. Ryan Conley hands the rock off to Cameron Lampart, and Lampart takes it in for the score from 5 yards out. Chilliwack's next drive, QB sneak specialist Jordan Fox gets his second rushing touchdown of the game. Chilliwack up 21-0. The Giants would add one more on a bruising TD run by Nashawn Douglas. Chilliwack over White Rock 28-0. Now let's take a look at the rest of the scores from Midget. And here are your Midget standings through 3 weeks. Now, here's what happened in Bantam, Junior Bantam, and Pee Wee football this past weekend. Now for some VCL action. Chilliwack taking on Abbotsford, Junior Bantam. Falcons score first. Number 23 takes the handoff from 25 yards out and jets all the way to the end zone for a score. Abbotsford's defense was great in this one. Number 85 comes up with this tip drill pick. Third quarter, number 23 takes this sweet play yard on this amazing 65-yard touchdown run. The Falcons would score again on 23's third touchdown of the game from 10 yards out. The Giants would not give up though. Number 25 picks up a huge sack on the Falcons QB. Fourth quarter, Abbotsford's pivot would get 2 scores of his own. First throwing it up to 86, who makes a great grab. Then the QB would call his own number, running 20 yards to the house. Falcons win 34-0. Some more VCFL action. Chilliwack Blue versus Abbotsford, this time Pee Wee ball. Giants QB hands it off to number 34. He will find a hole, taking all the way to pay dirt for the score. Second Q. 34 takes the handoff again and gets his second touchdown of the half. This kid is really good. Falcons would respond, getting a huge return from number 22, looking like Devin Hester out there. But never count out the Giants running back, who goes 90 yards this time for his third rushing touchdown of the game. Later in the half, what looks to be a sweep play, it's a reverse. Number 14 takes it and goes 50 yards. Chilliwack wins this one 24-7. Up next on Touchdown BC, the UBC Thunderbirds travel to Manitoba for the Bison's homecoming, where there was a shootout in the prairies.
The CFL and our partners at Football Canada want to make sure we keep growing, promoting, and investing in a safe game. Football Canada now requires all amateur coaches to be safe contact trained by 2017. By creating a standard of safety for all in our football community, we're making an already great game even better. Make sure your youth coach is safe contact trained, because making a safe game means making a better game.
Welcome back to Touchdown BC. I'm Ty Clark. He's Adam Kordick. Ty, huge game in Manitoba this weekend with the UBC Thunderbirds taking on the Manitoba Bisons. What happened?
You knew it was going to be a tough game for the T-Birds going into Manitoba for the Bison's homecoming, but I don't think anyone would have predicted what was going to happen next. With both teams up 500, largely thanks to the Calgary Dinos, we had quite the shootout in the prairies.
We begin in Manitoba, where it was Silly Hat Day. Thunderbirds coming off a victory, Manitoba a loss. Bison's head coach Brian Dobie and the Herd just want to win. This helps that. Early first cue, Teo Dizar rolls out and goes to the air. Jesse Walker hauls it in and takes it home. Just like that, it's 7-0 for the Herd. Second cue, Bison's up 7-3. Michael O'Connor shows off his arm. Alex Morrison makes a sweet grab for the major. T-Birds take their first lead. Minutes later, Pinto proves why he was in such hot demand this summer.
8 by Pinto. Pinto runs straight ahead. Still going. Pinto finds a seam. Travell Pinto still going near side. He's at the midline marker. It's a race to the end zone. Pinto's going to win it, and Pinto goes all the way for the score.
The 103-yard return puts UBC up 10 minutes later. After a Bison's field goal, this 31-yarder to Will Watson makes it 14. However, right before the half, super rookie Jamel Lyles cuts that lead back to one score with this 21-yard tally. Third cue now, T-Birds up 14. Marcus Davis makes that 21. UBC starting to pull away, but not of the Herd's sight. Dezar pitches the pigskin to Alex Christie. A few sweet moves later, he's in the end zone. Early fourth now. Dezar shows off the arm again. Alex Vitt makes an unreal grab. That sets up this QB keeper from Dezar. The Birds lead back down to just 7. But O'Connor would put the game on ice. He hits Watson, who gets his second major of the game. The Herd scored lots, but in the end, the T-Birds scored more, taking this one by 3. Despite the loss, Dezar set the Bison's single-game passing record, tossing 519 yards. 3 games into his CIS career, and O'Connor's touchdown-to-interception ratio is 6-1. Not too shabby.
Welcome to the UBC Report on Touchdown BC. Joining me again in the studio is the voice of Canada West football on Shaw TV, Jim Mullen. Jim, we had a big game in Manitoba. Teo Dezar broke the Bison's record for most completions in a game and yards by a quarterback with 519 yards. So let me ask you this, what's going on with UBC's secondary?
Well, first of all, Teo Dezar is a big play type of quarterback right now. He's not necessarily the type of guy that will work a secondary, but he can burn you deep. He's got a cannon of an arm, and he used that to his advantage against the UBC secondary. Taylor Loeffler, the safety, who's a third-year guy out of Kelowna, former BC High School Player of the Year, and a transfer out of Boise State. He came up with a pick in that game, couple of pass breakups. Kevin Weens played some good halfback as well. But it's just a case of a team going through transition right now. There's a number of positions with the Thunderbirds where they're going through transition, and the secondary has issues. Against a team like the Saskatchewan Huskies coming up next week, that's going to be interesting to see how they play against a team that's a little more methodical than big play-based like the Manitoba Bisons are. And I think, quite honestly, the running of Jamel Lyles can also keep a defense rather honest that way. So there were a number of things that were going into that game that probably threw the secondary off. But luckily they dodged a bullet.
Absolutely. And a couple big things that jump out at us right now is, one, there's 99 points scored in this game. Two, there's 1,100 yards in total offense. Were the offenses that good, or were the defenses just that bad?
I saw some good defensive plays being made, but, really I think the athletes on the offensive side of the ball were that good. I mean, that's not to take anything away from some of the athletes on the Manitoba side or the UBC side of the ball. But I think UBC did a tremendous job of getting the football into the hands of their athletes who are potential playmaking athletes. Travell Pinto, for example, a guy that both Manitoba and UBC dueled over in terms of recruitment that UBC obviously won out for. He was put into a kick return situation that he manufactured into 7 points. Marcus Davis produced. Morrison produced. People forget that 2 years ago Morrison was the special teams leader in the Canada West. There were times where even on a fake field goal attempt, Terrell Davis, who's now converted over to a linebacker, came across the formation and took a pitch from Trevor Casey and got it inside the red zone. So you've got quality athletes getting the football and making things happen with it, and that's one of the reasons why UBC manufactured points, and quite frankly, Manitoba manufactured points as well. Walker, the inside receiver for Manitoba, another BC kid, he produced big time because this kid's got track and field wheels, and once he gets the ball, he can do special things with it too.
And last week, you talked a little bit about Michael O'Connor. He looked good in his first couple games, was struggling with his completion percentage. This week, he had a 68% completion percentage and 4 TDs. Did he look more comfortable out there, or is this a sign of things to come, or is this just a one-off?
I think it's a sign of more things to come. I think he had issues initially with the offensive line, because the offensive line at UBC, it's a work in progress. And obviously not having Brandon Deschamps against the Regina Rams was also a big issue for him. Having Deschamps back in that backfield who can get tough yards when the offensive line isn't necessarily executing was a plus for O'Connor. But I think O'Connor realizes that a big asset for him at this point in time is a quick release. He gets rid of the ball quickly. And when he does that and he can make the quick read, he can make some special things happen. As this team moves on, we're very lucky to see him as a redshirt freshman because he'll be around for 5 years. And to see the offensive line build up over the next 2 years, I think we're going to see some fantastic things out of Michael O'Connor.
And going into this game, UBC was ranked 10th, Manitoba was ranked 7th. How does this win realign the Canada West standings?
Well, I think in terms of national rankings, UBC gets a big boost by it. I think the national voters take a look at what Manitoba did, narrowly losing to Calgary, narrowly losing to UBC, and they still have high regard for them. After all, they're the defending Canada West champions. I think what this does, though, for UBC, putting them at 2-1 in the Canada West standings, makes this game coming up against Saskatchewan very important, because they could really take control of their own destiny with a win against a Saskatchewan Huskies team that is, quite frankly, really beaten up at this point in time. The game that I did between Regina and Saskatchewan last week, the whole right side of the defensive secondary was rebuilt and reshuffled. Receivers were out. The Saskatchewan Huskies tailbacks, which are usually 4 deep, they've lost 3 of their guys. They've had to go basically down to 1 tailback. This is a great opportunity for UBC to take advantage of an injured team who's traveling, and when you're injured, you don't travel well because you don't have that depth on the bench. If they can secure a 3rd victory, that is a huge step in the right direction in terms of hosting a home playoff game. And as we know, home field advantage is huge in this conference.
That's a UBC Report with Jim Mullen.
Last week, we saw many BC-born players have impact games throughout the CIS. This week was no different. BC players were ballin', making our province proud and proving that the West Coast is really the best coast.
Let's start with Surrey-born Will Watson. The UBC wide receiver scored 2 huge touchdowns in a win against Manitoba. Then there was Watson's teammate, the kicker from Victoria, Quinn Van Gilswick, who was lights out, hitting from 37, 20, and 27 yards out. Now let's take a look at some other BC players that had great games in the CIS this past weekend.
That's episode 2 of Touchdown BC in the books. Adam, big weekend next weekend. I mean, we have high school football starting off in the Eastern Conference. And another big story, of course, is my alma mater, the UBC Thunderbirds, taking on yours.
Yeah, my Huskies playing next week against UBC. Ty, I think we have to make a little wager on the game. For the closing out of the show in episode 3 next week, if the T-Birds win, I will wear that ugly helmet on top of my head. And if the Huskies win, you have to wear this beautiful bright green helmet for the closing of the show next week.
Well, that's not going to happen, but we'll see what happens next week. He's Adam Kordick. I'm Ty Clark. We'll see you next week.
Touchdown BC is sponsored by